good, everybody? It's Devin Haney, and you're watching Calderon Boxing Talk.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy, Calderon, Stan Clear Entertainment, and we're about to get into this week's boxing talk. We're going to do a recap over the fight that took place this past weekend, the much-anticipated showdown between Canelo Alvarez, Mexico's biggest star, versus Daniel Jacobs, the two-time world champion. This fight right here was taking place in Las Vegas, and yours truly was out there, Calderon, on the scene to report and cover this fight. It was a fight that really didn't live up to the hype that we expected. A much better fight between Daniel Jacobs and Canelo Alvarez. Jacobs started out boxing very well in the first round, using the jab, but it was Canelo Alvarez that was pressing the attack, landing some good body shots, landing his jab effectively as well, and he was getting on the inside, landing off the harder shots throughout the fight. The first half of the fight, I saw Canelo Alvarez running away with this fight because he was clearly doing more. He was busier than Daniel Jacobs. Jacobs was looking for his spots, fighting off the back foot, backing up a lot, and Canelo Alvarez was the one that was pressing the aggression in this fight right here, and he was landing the better, cleaner, harder shots than Daniel Jacobs. Jacobs was switching from southpaw to orthodox, and in the southpaw stance, he really didn't do that well. He wasn't effective with that southpaw stance. You saw Canelo Alvarez landing his shots at will and really catching him cleanly with some beautiful punches. It wasn't until the 7th round where Daniel Jacobs started to apply the pressure, started to come forward and stand his ground and let his hands go to the body and head and ripped off some very good shots, catching Canelo Alvarez with some clean left hooks, straight right hands. And Canelo Alvarez, like I said before, this man has a great chin. He could take a very good punch, and he showed that in this fight. He stood there with Daniel Jacobs, and he showed that tremendous heart, that Mexican toughness as he went toe-to-toe with Daniel Jacobs in the trenches, and he backed up Daniel Jacobs to the ropes, and he went to work on Daniel Jacobs. Jacobs just started out very late in this fight. He took too long to get it going, and he fell way behind on the scorecards. There was no robbery, and there was no controversy. The right man won the fight, and I tip my hats off to Canelo Alvarez for putting on a very good performance, a solid performance, as he unifies 3 of the world title belts, the IBF belt that Daniel Jacobs had, the WBC, and the WBA title. Now, this performance by Canelo Alvarez, you got to give him a lot of credit, because this man showed exceptional defense in this fight right here. He had great head movement. We saw this in previous fights with Triple G, that he has improved greatly in the defense department. And in this fight against Jacobs, he made Jacobs miss a lot of shots, and he looked very good with his defense in this fight. And Canelo Alvarez is a much complete fighter, as he has gotten better and better with each fight. This guy is truly pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world today. Is he the #1 fighter in the world? There's a strong argument for that case because of his resume, because of the guys that he has faced and he has beaten. He's only lost 1 fight, and that was to Floyd Mayweather very early in his career. And Canelo Alvarez is such a good fighter. He's very hard to beat. I don't think anyone at 160 pounds is going to beat Canelo Alvarez. I don't care if they're fighting at 154 and they decide to move up to 160 and challenge him. The Charlo brothers are definitely not beating Canelo Alvarez. You have WBO middleweight champion Demetrius Andre out there, that he is next in line for a big opportunity to fight Canelo Alvarez sometime in the near future. I had an interview with him, and I asked him that Canelo Alvarez has been avoiding him for quite some time, but Canelo Alvarez just hasn't looked in his direction because he's not a big enough draw. He's not a big fight for him, but he's a very good fighter, a solid fighter who has very good slick boxing skills, and he could possess some type of problems for Canelo Alvarez, but not much at all, because I believe Canelo Alvarez will beat him. And he has that WBO title that Canelo Alvarez is going to want, and that fight will happen eventually, perhaps by the ending of this year or definitely by next year. That fight is going to happen between Canelo Alvarez and Demetrius Andre, because he has 9 fights left on his DAZN contract, and Demetrius Andre is going to be part of that 9 fights remaining on Canelo Alvarez's contract. So, I look forward to that fight happening. Daniel Jacobs, I heard that he's going to be moving up to 168 pounds, where he feels much better and perhaps stronger at the weight. He's been at 160 for a very long time. He's been a 2-time world champion, and now he'll be moving up to the super middleweight division to look for a world title opportunity up there. And I believe that he will become champion once again. He is a very good fighter, but he has to start faster in his fights. He has to come out the way he did against Peter Quillin and waste no time in fight. He took too much time in the earlier rounds, and this was his downfall. Otherwise, this fight would have been a different story. I had the fight scored 7 rounds to 5, just like the other 2 judges that scored it 115 to 113 on their scorecards. One of the judges scored it 8 rounds to 4. I don't have a problem with that. I thought it was a little bit much closer. A lot of people talking about Triple G versus Canelo 3. This is a fight matchup that it's worth the money. A lot of fans are going to tune in for this fight because they gave us 2 great, thrilling fights, and I definitely would love to see it again. I'm a Triple G fan, and I'll be definitely rooting for Triple G in that fight as well. But, Triple G is getting up there in age. He's about 37 years old. He's slowing down. And at this moment right now, the way I've seen Canelo Alvarez improve, and I haven't seen Triple G really do more than what he did in those 2 fights, I don't see him winning the 3rd fight. He has a great jab against Canelo Alvarez that could push Canelo Alvarez back. He has punching power that Canelo Alvarez could absorb those shots with his great chin, but he's just not quick enough for Canelo Alvarez, and he doesn't go to the body like he should to be able to turn the outcome of this fight. So if they fight in September, which this is the date that the Zone is looking for, and I don't think that fight is actually going to take place in September of this year. It might happen in Cinco de Mayo 2020, because I believe Team Canelo and Golden Boy Promotions are going to play hardball with Triple G, and they're going to make sure that he goes in the direction of facing somebody like Demetrius Andre for the WBO middleweight title, because they already stated that Triple G needs to have a title belt in order for them to have a fight with each other. We know that the boxing fans love both of those fights. They were both very close fights that could have went either way, could have been a draw. The second fight, I gave Canelo the edge in winning that fight, but a lot of fans were on the fence of who really won both of those fights. So, a 3rd fight will be very interesting for boxing fans to watch and to see where Triple G is right now in the stage of his career, and see the growth of Canelo Alvarez, that he is becoming such a fantastic fighter right now. And you just got to give this man a lot of respect and props, because he is a very great fighter. Is he going to move up to 168 pounds to challenge somebody like Callum Smith, who holds the real WBA super middleweight title, while Canelo holds a secondary world title of the WBA? So that's a possibility fight that could happen. I think that's a fight he most definitely will take first before facing a guy like Triple G or Demetrius Andre. I think they're just going to prolong both of those fights into 2020. And I just see that Canelo Alvarez has a lot of options on the table. A lot of people are talking about this $20 million offer that Golden Boy has given Errol Spence, the IBF welterweight champion who fights at 147 pounds. I spoke with Errol Spence. Spence already said that Golden Boy is going to have to up that offer. They're not going to take the first offer that they throw at him, because Al Heyman and PBC are not going to let Errol Spence go over to the Zone and sign any type of deal with the Zone, or take any type of money that they're offering to fight Canelo Alvarez, because they feel like they have enough on their side of the street where they have a lot of fights for Errol Spence. He has the Sean Porter fight coming up. He has the winner between Manny Pacquiao and Keith Thurman. That's a big payday for Errol Spence. That's a big pay-per-view fight for Errol Spence. So, he has a lot of options over there. He doesn't need Canelo Alvarez right now. You got to remember, the Zone offered $120 million to Deontay Wilder to fight Anthony Joshua twice, plus a throwaway fight with Dominic Breazeale for $20 million, and they didn't take that fight at all. So, they're not going to let Errol Spence go over there for $20 million. They're going to have to pay him a lot much more. And they're going to wait till later on in his career so that he could clean out the welterweight division and have other big fights out there like the Terrence Crawford fight. Hopefully they can make that fight into a pay-per-view mega fight. And I look forward to Canelo Alvarez's next big fight against any one of these guys, because he is the face of boxing, and there's no question about that. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in to this YouTube channel right here, Calderon Boxing Talk. Please hit that like button, hit that bell icon, drop a comment. I have a lot of exclusive interviews over the weekend in Las Vegas. About 9 interviews that I'm going to be dropping with guys like Roy Jones Jr., Errol Spence, Sean Porter, Devin Haney. There's so many guys that I got to interview. It was a great blessing to be out there in Las Vegas. You know, please follow me on social media, on Instagram, on Twitter, and join the Facebook boxing group page, all under the same name, J. Calderon Boxing Talk. I'm J. Calderon. Thanks for your support. Keep watching and please subscribe.